Hello everyone, and welcome to my 6-part series all about business financial literacy for the independent stylist. Now, although it's important for all business owners to be financially literate, for this particular series, I've decided to focus on the independent stylist because I want to emphasize the importance of operating your business as a legitimate business regardless of your size. So whether you're as large as Coca-Cola or even Nike, or whether you are a one-man shop like most independent stylists are, in order to successfully sustain your business, you must do the exact same things that these larger businesses do to succeed, even if what you're doing is on a smaller scale. And of course, it's going to be on a smaller scale because clearly you're not as big as Nike, but you still need to do the same things that they do. So I've always said, if the IRS and your state treats you like a business, you are a business, and therefore you must treat yourself and what you do as a business. Now, when it comes to business financial literacy, there are 6 different areas that I focus on. Now, this is something I just came up with myself. It's not actually written in stone. It's just based upon my experience with dealing with the businesses that I have dealt with in the past. So the number 1 is picking the right business structure. Number 2 is setting up an accounting system. Number 3 is managing your cash flow. Number 4 is understanding budget projections, forecasts, and why it's necessary for you to maintain those types of reports, even if you are a one-man show. Number 5 is business credit versus personal credit, and how does each affect your business? And then number 6 is tax planning and tax compliance. For series number 1, we're going to talk about picking the right business structure. So when you decide to start a business, one of the most important decisions that you make or that you have to make is choosing a legal structure for your business. The type of legal structure that you choose holds the key to how you will ultimately run your business according to government requirements. Your entity type is going to determine the type and the number of tax returns that you eventually file. It will determine how you are required to pay yourself and your workers. And when I say workers as an independent stylist, I'm really talking about your assistant. It's going to determine the types of forms that you have to fill. It's going to determine the data that the government and other third parties will request from you in the event that you have to provide financial information to these parties. So a third party can be a bank. Of course, it would be the government, or even your vendors. The type of business structure that you choose is going to determine what you're going to have to present. Your entity type also determines the way that you will handle your bookkeeping, and it's going to determine how you communicate with the IRS. So as you can see, your entity type is the foundation of your business. It dictates everything else moving forward. Compare it to the foundation of a building. The stronger the foundation of a building, the longer the building will last when it's finally erected. Same thing with your business. Once you choose the right legal structure for your business, you can now start to put the pieces of the puzzle together to now grow your business. A good example of this was when the government was offering the PPP loan. If you didn't have the proper paperwork in place, you weren't able to receive any funds. Okay? So during this time, when the banks requested the paperwork that they needed to process the loans, they didn't differentiate between a one-man shop and a company with, let's say, 500 workers, because 500 workers, anything below 500 workers is considered a small business. So if you are one individual, you're a small business. If you have 500 workers, you're considered a small business. There was no differentiation between either one. The banks requested the exact same paperwork from everyone, regardless of whether you were an independent stylist or if you were a chain salon. The only difference that you and a chain salon may have had would have been the type of tax form that you are required to complete based upon your business structure. And therefore, you would have provided the bank with a different type of tax form. And even in some cases, your structure as an independent stylist may be the exact same structure as a chain salon, which in that case, you are both required to provide the banks with the exact same tax form. So I'm just saying this so that you understand that there really is no difference between you as an independent stylist and a business that has 500 or less employees. Your legal structure is the foundation of your business. It's the first thing that you should consider when starting a business, but it's never too late to change or reconsider your structure even after you've started your business. There could be a reason why you need to change. You may have started out as a sole proprietor and then you decide, okay, I think I want to become an LLC because of ABC. You may start out as an LLC and then decide you might want to become an S corporation because of ABC. So it's never too late to change. Now, for the purpose of this discussion today, I'm going to focus on 3 out of the 4 business structures available to you because as an independent stylist, these are the only 3 that make any sense. So when deciding which structure to choose, there are a few things that you need to take into consideration. Now, just because you are an independent stylist does not mean that your only option is to remain a sole proprietor. Because I know that usually when you first or initially decide to rent a booth or maybe even rent a suite, by default, you're a sole proprietor if you haven't yet registered your business with the state. And when you start renting a booth, you might just continue on working and not really think about registering your business with the state. And in that case, by default, you're going to remain a sole proprietor. Now, as a sole proprietor, there is no distinction between you and your business, which means that you leave yourself wide open to possible lawsuits that may be brought about by something that happened in your business. Now, let me say this, by the way. I am not an attorney, and I think it's really important to consult with an attorney whenever you are trying to make a decision that can eventually expose you and your business or you or your business to a potential lawsuit. But just keep in mind that the business structure you choose has a huge bearing on how exposed your personal assets are if you ever get sued. As a sole proprietor, your personal assets are 100% exposed to a lawsuit, even if that lawsuit came about based on something that happened within your business. Now, becoming an LLC. If you decide to register your business with the state, okay, and usually it's with the Secretary of State for most states. It could differ depending upon what state you are. You'll be required to create something called articles of organization. They're not that complicated to create. Now, one of the main benefits of becoming an LLC is that you get asset protection. The idea is to protect your personal assets from a suit concerning your business if it should ever come up. That being said, if you don't abide by the rules that govern LLCs, you are essentially exposing your personal assets to be part of a lawsuit if it ever comes down to that. Once again, I'm not an attorney, so please consult an attorney so they can further advise you on how to handle this. An existing business can convert to an LLC at any time in the future should you decide to do so. And finally, another option you have as an independent stylist is to register as a corporation. Choosing the corporate structure can be a bit of an overkill as an independent stylist. However, it's an option if you see a need to go down that road. Now, while the C corporation is a legal structure, the S corporation status is not a legal structure. It is a tax election that can be made by an LLC, a partnership, or a C corporation. Electing to be taxed as an S corporation means that your business has to follow all of the rules and regulations of an S corporation. Now, I'll save that bit of detail for another time because I don't really want to get into all of the requirements and all of the regulations that a business has to abide by if they decide to become an S corporation. The most common legal structure that most small business owners choose when starting a business is the LLC structure. And then half of them wind up electing to be taxed as an S corporation. Several salon owners and independent stylists that I have encountered decide to elect to be taxed as an S corporation because of the overall tax savings that they may realize at the end of the year. Although this is a good reason to elect S status, you have to understand some of the compliance requirements that come along with being an S corporation. And in addition to that, you should also run the numbers to make sure that it makes sense from a tax saving perspective for you to structure your business as an S corporation. Never elect S corporation status without consulting with a CPA first. There are way too many things that can go wrong if you are not given the whole picture before making the leap from an LLC to electing S corporation status. I know it's really exciting and attractive to hear that you can save on the amount of taxes that you have to pay if you become an S corporation, but that's not always the case. It really depends on your individual situation. Saying that you can save on your tax bill if you're an S corporation is a very blanketed statement. You will never know whether or not you're going to save, nor will you ever know if that's the best option for you without actually sitting down and mapping out the pros and the cons to see whether or not it's something that is best for your business. And as for the tax savings, you want to run the numbers to make sure that in your situation, that making that choice is going to reduce your tax liability, because it may not. Just because it reduces Sally's tax liability doesn't mean it's going to reduce Sandra's tax liability. Okay, guys, so that's all I have for part 1 of this series. In part 2, I'll be discussing setting up an accounting system for the independent stylist. And if you haven't already, don't forget to join my waitlist so you are one of the first to know when my financial membership site for the independent stylist launches. You can find the link to sign up to my waitlist in the email you received with this video, or on my Instagram bio, or in the chat or description box, or in the episode page of my podcast. So there are several places that you can go sign up for my waitlist. Thank you, and I'll see you in series 2.